Hot take, Mr. Black, because I watched it this week. We binged it, beginning to end. I enjoyed. Now, I want to clarify this. It does not necessarily mean that I think that it's better outright, but I enjoyed Rings of Power more than House of Dragons.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
Which surprised me because all I saw online was a bunch of fucking just salty individuals about Rings of Power, or people that were like, oh, it's so boring. I didn't find it boring. I didn't find that it would like spit in Tolkien's face or anything crazy like that. Now, granted, I'm not the guy that has read every book in the Silmarillion and all this other shit 14,000 fucking times like it was like my job in university to fucking study the material. We got people studying the shit more than the Bible. They can quote verses from fucking random pages on any of the books. And so maybe that's a benefit for me, is I'm a big fan of the movies. You know this, everyone knows this. I fucking think the Lord of the Rings trilogy is arguably the greatest trilogy in the history of film. I don't know what you could even, say was better than that. It has aged almost better than any other trilogy for its time, or any other. Really fucking good shit. And so for me, watching the movies and going to that, and it was the same with Em. She loved it too. And she's a big fan of just the films. And for me, as far as I go, is I'll like watch the movies once a year, usually. I'll watch Lord of the Rings series, got the extended Blu-rays. I'll watch it once a year. And as I'm watching it, maybe a new thought comes into my mind where I'm like, oh, I wonder what the backstory behind this thing is or whatever else. And then I'll be lost in a fucking hole on the internet in Wikipedia pages. Like you could literally spend like weeks going through Lord of the Rings lore and characters and whatnot. And that's as far as I take it. And so with the show, it hit all the marks that I needed it to hit. It felt good. It was entertaining. The action was fine. It's no worse than the action that you got in the movies, really, in the grand scheme of things. The writing was fine. The acting was all fine. Some performances better than others, but in general, I didn't have anything bad to say about the acting. The music was great. It didn't feel like Peter Jackson's Lord of the fucking Rings. I mean, that's a little bit different to compare an Amazon Prime special versus a blockbuster movie series, but it didn't feel out of place. It didn't, like, if I watched this show and I went and watched the movies, I wouldn't feel like I got whiplash going between the two. And nothing that I saw that I looked up later, as far as like Wikipedia and stuff, nothing I saw, despite all the people online just losing their shit over it, like nothing I saw was like some sort of blasphemous rewriting of Tolkien's works. A lot of the stuff was pulled out of letters that he wrote that was trying to like backfill some of the shit that didn't necessarily make it into the books. And there are clearly liberties being taken for the sake of the show, but it wasn't like people were treating this like it was the Halo TV show, where all of a sudden Master Chief's out of his suit and fucking everything with two legs on camera, and like it just like having these like a romance, or like the romance with Cortana shit and all the other nonsense. They were talking about it like it was an absolute like complete derail of the entire thing, but I didn't find that at all. And at the end of the day, I enjoyed it more. I think House of Dragons is really good. I think it's better written than Lord of the Rings. I think the acting is better in general. There are some that are equal, but I think the acting is better. But from an enjoyment perspective, I enjoyed Rings of Power more. And I tried to quantify that, but I think some of it was, for me, with House of Dragons, I think like it's easier to relate to things in the Lord of the Rings show as a person. So because you get like the Lord of the Rings has a lot of, the themes of like friendship and working through hardships together as a group, and that whole kind of like, and that's all very human and relatable, and can give you the warm fuzzies and all that shit. I'm sure lots of people watching Lord of the Rings, lots of scenes, everyone gets the warm fuzzies. It's a comfortable fucking series to watch, right? You can feel good when you're watching. You watch House of Dragons, and it's another romp through basically an incestuous fucking relationship for 8 episodes. How in the fuck am I going to relate in any way, shape, or form to the second showing in a Game of Thrones series, where a large part, in this it's more than the original series. It is the fucking pivotal aspect. Sorry to spoil this if people haven't seen already. Incest is back in action, except this time the age gap makes it even more uncomfortable than the original series did, and it's basically the core, like the pivotal point in the storyline. And I just I watch it and I'm like, yeah, the writing is great. It's the classic, if you liked, like we talked about before, if you watched the original series and you liked the conversations between Varys and Littlefinger, the political read between the lines, I'm saying this, but I'm really fucking burning your ass, and the writing was really good and whatnot, then House of Dragons has, a fair amount of that. But there's so little for me to fucking actually relate to in House of Dragons. All I can do is from a distance say, this is well written. It looks pretty. It is definitely Game of Thrones. Good work. I didn't hate my time, but yet I can't interact with it the same way that I can with Lord of the Rings. And so that's why I say I enjoyed it more. I don't necessarily think if I'm being objective that I'm saying Lord of the Rings was better in every category.
You enjoyed it more. I mean, but I enjoyed it more. Defend yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's just because it's such a different take. I figured I'd at least explain why. But yeah, I know you didn't watch Rings of Power yet. You watched House of Dragons.
Yeah.
And we know that you didn't like the birthing scenes.
Well, it's not that I didn't like them. I just thought there was too many of them. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and that is part of it too. But yeah, that's kind of it. For me, and so if you ever do watch it, I'll be interested to see how you enjoy it, because I know you like the original Lord of the Rings movies, and you also are the one that's reading all the books 14,000 times and whatnot. So it will be fun to see what your take is on it. I'll probably watch it soon. We're finishing up some more shitty reality TV, and then we'll give her a look-see. I highly doubt I'm gonna like it more than House of the Dragons, or House of the Dragon. But I'm going in there with very low expectations. So sometimes when you go in
with low
expectations, you come out going, "Whoa, okay,
surprise!
All right, I don't hate this." So maybe that'll be the case for me for the Lord of the Rings, but we will see. I'm happy you enjoyed it though. I mean, Lord of the Ring fans are Lord of the Ring fans. They're gonna bitch and complain and moan about whatever, right? It's
even the Game of Thrones fans did that shit too.
Game of Thrones, but it was warranted. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the vast majority of Game of Thrones fans really enjoyed House of Dragon.
Yes, true.
I don't see much. Obviously, there's some people that didn't like it, but the vast majority.
I meant to the end of the original series, which everyone
was warranted. That was nightmare
bad.
Fuel.
That's
bad. So we'll see. I'll be the judge when I see it.
Yeah, I'm very interested in how you
watch
it
the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It's it was quite something. I do hope. It's just that was the first thought when I was watching House of Dragons, and when you get to the I'll use as loose terminology as possible if people somehow still haven't fucking seen this thing, but the den scene. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, again, real. Was this really the plot device? The only one that we could have run with? There's nothing else. I get that Game of Thrones is built on the back of medieval times where this was a common thing with royalty, keeping the bloodlines clean and all that shit. But was this the only one? We couldn't do anything else. That was that was kind of.
I think that's the magic of Game of Thrones is. It's gonna sound really. I think it's gonna sound really weird, man. But I think that there is this. This is gonna sound really fucking bizarre. So, bear with me.
Okay.
All right. But I think that there's a large amount of people out there that watch this show that don't actually think that.
No, I'm sure they don't.
Where they're actually I'm not gonna go and say it's hot. But it's
you're right. This is getting weird.
Yeah, but it's sort of this taboo. You shouldn't, right? you know,
Game of Thrones likes its shock. It's shock factor.
But I think I think that's part of the pull of Game of Thrones. It's they do everything that like you're not supposed to do, and they're unapologetic about it, and then they make it almost well, they're doing this for the family, the bloodline, for like, you know, there's a reason. And I've watched countless hours of Game of Thrones commentary and reactions and whatever.
Oh, I'm sure nobody fucking gives a shit.
It's like nobody talks about, like, they'll talk about the incest and like the weird shit that goes on, but they're never like, man, that shit makes me really uncomfortable. I don't know why they're doing this. There's like something about it that is almost, I don't want to use the word sexy because that's not it, but there's something taboo. There's something dangerous.
Well, it's not something taboo. Incest is very taboo. I mean,
yes, but like it's almost like it's olden times. People just kind of, you know, now we know things, right? Like now we know like that can really fuck people up if you're like having children.
I don't think that's the only reason I would stop myself from doing it, but we definitely know more.
Of course, but we live in different times, right? Yeah. And way back then, you know, this barbaric sort of weird way of life is what went on.
I know,
just the way it is.
I get it. I understand.
You know, I don't condone it. Like, obviously, it'd be sick as fuck if it was happening now or really ever when you think about it. But in a TV show, in a fantasy, you know, old, I don't even know what kind of times it is.
Well,
like
it's a medieval setting. But
medieval setting with witchcraft and fucking all this other stuff. It's just kind of, you just accept it.
I just think for me, it was like, if I didn't already get that with you know, fucking the original series, I probably wouldn't be like, all right, but the fact that it's like another core, like it's like the plot, you know, pivotal plot point, again, I'm just like...
Yeah, there's weird shit that goes on, man. Like, they're marrying fucking 11 and 12-year-olds and shit. Like, it's just like a lot of weird shit that goes on, for sure. But I think we also understand the times and the story and just how it is. I mean, it is what it is.